and yeah, so building data visualization kits, UI kits in Figma, right? Long word. So that's what we'll be talking about today. And I'm going to start off by giving a little intro about myself here. So hello, everybody. My name is Alex Sicleri. I am located in Buffalo, New York. So if anybody wants to know where that is, it's the opposite side of the state of New York State, or New York City. So it's the whole other side. So currently what I do is I'm a senior product designer here at Headway. I have been at Headway for about a year and a half now. I've been in the product design world for about 9+ years, whether it's UX UI designer, product designer, web designer, you can name it depending on the year and the title. That's, within the 9 years I've been in design. Personally, I'm a father of 4 kids, 2 boys, 2 girls. It's a crazy household, and I have 2 Siberian Huskies. So my free time is really taken up, by family and a bunch of dog stuff. So that's just a little bit about myself, and we can get kind of into it here. So what we're going to be talking about today is a couple of things here. What is data visualization, and why is it important to me as a designer, or just as us in general? Why it's important. So I'm going to review a couple of data visualization plugins. I have 3 that I'm currently within Figma that I'm going to kind of go over and share with you and break them down a little bit and see how they're used, and kind of work through them with you guys and show all of you, and show you how some benefits and negatives about them, pros and cons. Also, I'm going to build a simple data visualization without plugins, so like a simple bar graph, and how we kind of build that out and have some flexibility within Figma to have different options with that. And then we'll just kind of have some final thoughts and like overall opinions of everything, and what my experience has been with building visualizations and different examples that we've built here at Headway. Some cool things on how we decided to go in one route for a type of visualization compared to something else. And then obviously at the end we have some questions. So question and answering will be done after that. And then also, just to give you guys a heads up too, there will be also a blog that will follow this in the following weeks. And as well as, here at Headway, we're actually going to be pumping out a actual data visualization UI kit within our Shipwright UI kit that we have currently out there in Figma and the Figma community. So you can look forward to that as well in the future here. So, I really want to kind of start off and understand, like, what is a data visualization, and really why is it important to us? So a data visualization is really the graphic representation of data. Pretty simple and straightforward. It involves like producing images that communicate relationships among the represented data to the viewers of the images. So it's like basically being able to, as a user, understand, see the information, and be able to have a graphical representation of what data is being pushed to you. So there's 3 really main big points that I really want to kind of highlight and talk a little bit about before we kind of jump into the building itself as well of the visualizations. First one is data is everywhere. Whether you're on your, using your smartwatch as an example here, with looking, your airplane ticket coming in, or you're looking for your health data, seeing your, your steps throughout the day, information around that, or, you enter into a new car, you landed into a new location, and I want to find Starbucks, I gotta go get my coffee. It's, pumpkin spice latte season, I gotta go get that, and make sure you got that Starbucks ready to go. Or understanding things like your drop-off rate for an onboarding process, or even if something you're trying to understand, like your onboarding funnel, and like where are people coming in and leaving at that time. All this types of information is data, right? And so how do we as designers understand that, digest that information when it's coming into us, and then being able to turn around and pump out and tell a story with that data, right? Whether it's good or bad with that. So, telling a story is kind of the next part here. So, data does a great job at communicating a story, whether it's positive or negative. Data is there to help you tell a story. Obviously, the past 6 months, as an example, I have the image of it. Past 6 months has been kind of crazy with COVID stuff, right? And there was a great website that had all this data coming in, right? All this numbers, information, but you can sit there and understand it. But like when you look at it, to me, a great piece was understanding like that visualization of a map, right? You could be able to tell hotspots, and as they started to grow, obviously it's, not great information to know as far as cases going up, but it was a way for somebody to quickly scan and look at a map and start to understand where, hotspots are, where things are growing, kind of along that story, right? along that way. Other big parts of this is, why data is a great telling story, great for storytelling, is if you're trying to sell in, an impact on design, right? Now, what did I do or what did I design that impacted the business for, say, a KPI, right? Say you had a KPI as a business to grow user signups 20% over the next year. And what did I do as a designer? I designed a couple of different flows or different ideas. Wanted to put an A/B test together to show, hey, this is the impact the design had based on decisions that we put together, designers. You run the test, you have that information coming back, and now you can go and tell, the business side, hey, we ran these 2 tests. These are the results that we had, and here's the increased percentage of user signups, and here's, based on version 1, based on version 2, and being able to really sell that story to the business side of what, how much impact design had on something. So, that's a really big part of, telling a story with data, whether it's, like I said before, whether good, positive, or negative, these are things that you need to be able to do and understand as a designer, how, what you build and what you design, especially with visualization, like how that can impact and tell a story. The last part, the third part of this is, data plays a key role in every business. So whether you're a mom and pop coffee shop and you're trying to manage inventory because again, what happened the past 6 months, like you got to understand, like, how can I skimp by and just have just enough inventory so I can supply my customers, but at the same time I don't have run over where now I'm throwing out product and it's costing me money. So understanding that every single role, a small shop like that, or a large, huge enterprise company that's maybe trying to distribute toilet paper is a great idea, right? Understanding where is that toilet paper at, like where are we at for levels of like where the product's coming in from the warehouse and how are we distributing that to other people. So there's, smaller, large businesses, data is always going to be there, right? Whether it's also you have this huge, on the business side, a huge Excel spreadsheet that has all this information in here, like being thrown at you. How do we as designers take that information in, again, tell a story with it, like compact to understanding the need of the business that we have to understand with the data that's there, put it together and then help sell that story. But understand that, whether it's a small mom and pop or a big, large enterprise, like data is always there and it's always going to continue to be there, and it's helping businesses understand how to grow themselves. So those are the 3 big takeaways that when I think about data and us as designers, that why it's important for us to understand it, not only be able to understand it, be able to like turn that information that's being put to us and have some actionable insights to grow from that and just to tell a story and to share. The other thing too is that one other part that I want to kind of bring up is like, how do you as a designer like take this data and show that you've been able to impact behavior, right, and change behavior on something, whether it's an application, a website, or sign up, and data is going to be able to help you with that. So again, a big, huge part is telling a story, but these other 2 pieces, right, data is everywhere, and that data plays a key role in every business is really why 3 big things that I like to point out when it comes to data visualization. So the 3 plugins that we're really going to go over today, there is Charts. So Charts is one of the bigger plugins that people have known. I'm not sure, your experience with plugins or not, but these are some of the big plugins that are available that I've seen through Figma. Chart is the first one that I know previously. I used it in Sketch when I used Sketch before. Some things that kind of highlight, there's 2 versions of it. There's a free version and there's a version that you pay $20 a year. So the free version, you only want to have 2 charts, which we'll kind of see and go over as we start to build things here through this. There's only 2 charts that you can use for that. A paid version has up to 16 different charts, a bunch of different things like scatter plots and heat maps and a bunch of stuff that you can use through that plugin. You can also generate random data with different trends. You can also import data via CSV, a JSON file, a REST API, a bunch of different options you can have with that. So it brings a lot of power to being able to link data to a plugin that you can just generate information, generate visualizations pretty fast with that. Also, you can customize charts with different options, and they also have updatable charts. So once you create that chart, you'll see you can actually go back in and update it. Say if you have a new data you want to put in their new file or new JSON data, you can actually pull that in and just update the graph for that. Sorry about that. Second plugin that we're going to look at is called Datavisor. So this one's a free version. It's a little bit more scaled back, but you can still have the ability to upload your own data. So this one, they only take a CSV or a JSON file. But in this one, you can also only do a bar graph, scatter plots, or line charts with custom or random generated data. So that one's a little bit scaled back. And the other one too is another free one. It's called Charts. This one is, again, it's free. You can generate a line graph, an area graph, donut graph, scatter, and bar charts. And then you can actually, with this one, it's really nice. You can actually choose some local styles or have them generate a color. So say if I have only 6 colors defined in my UI kit for color styles, they'll pull that in. And if there's anything else past that, say there needs to be more colors past that, they actually will auto-generate those colors for you. So that's cool, kind of some quick overviews of those. And so what we'll do right now is we'll kind of jump right into this. And then after this, we'll also go through and talk about how, building our own as well. So I can jump right in here. So as you see here, I just kind of created some quick color styles, like a purple dark, mint, just to kind of give us some quick color styles to kind of go over. So what you do with each of these plugins is what you're going to do is you're going to start by creating a frame. So just, again, drag out a simple frame. You can go in and click on the plugins. And then here you see this is the first one we're going to go over is the chart plugin. So as you see on the chart plugin here, there's a couple different options, right? There's a create chart, update chart, edit chart. And then they also do have templates. And then the mine account information obviously will take you to whether you're a paid account, free account, you can go in there and update some of that information. So, but the first one we'll do is we'll kind of start with creating a chart here. So as you see here, you can look at the different types of charts that are all here. There's this line, there's an area, there's, again, this is with the Pro, but there's bars, there's different types of graphs as well, vertical, horizontal, donuts, pies, everything kind of around the sun here as far as heat maps, as well as that. But right now for what we're doing, we're just showing you the free version because I didn't feel like paying $20 for this. So anyway, so you have the ability now, if you look at the line information here, to have like random line information. You can pull in, you can actually put in table information here, or you can actually upload a JSON file as well. So I'll kind of give you an example if we wanted to pull in a local JSON file here. It takes a minute to load up. So we'll just pull in some mock data here. So I think with the free version, you're only actually allowed to select one kind of label, but you can see here, I just created some kind of field as far as like date, time, access, last name information. So we'll just select the date and time. And then what we'll do is, since we can only do the line graph, kind of go back here and look at anything else. So this is where you can, if you want to get custom with it, or if it's just a JSON, it helps you. So when you hit create a file, it'll create it right here now within the frame. As you see, unfortunately, they just used whatever they wanted as far as coloring. But you can go ahead and still select it. Go in here and change. If you want to select one of your color styles, you can do that. They put everything in as far as the group. The nice thing about this is that it is somewhat responsive. As you see, like the numbers on the left-hand side over here, as you start to kind of change this information here, it starts to kind of text wrap, as well as down here. It's a little bit like that. Some other things you may be able to do is just like kind of go through, it goes up and down. There's not much control in regards to like being able to see how this information is going with outside the frame. I'm trying to use another tip is what you can use within Figma, you can use command and you can just hide the frame. And usually typically what it'll do is it won't adjust the component if it's a component, and it'll adjust the frame around it. But with this, it just looks like everything's stuck to the ends, each of the full side of it. And if it wraps, it kind of goes below the frame. So, that's kind of a quick overview with that. But you can also now with this, you can actually update this too. So we'll go and let's see if the version allows you to edit it. So you can go back to plugins, select chart, and then you can go and hit update. It does that. And if you go to, just updates the chart. If you go to plugin, you go edit. So you get back brought to this. So this basically, again, shows you some of the information here. When you go to edit it, you can select, 1 second here. Can't select that. So yeah, so this is a default template. It allows you to change maybe the X-axis information and go from there. So if you want to do that, so there you go. And then see that adds another one underneath there for that. So We can also go with and show you real quick an example of just a frame with just some random data. So this is a little bit more powerful. Obviously, again, this is the free version, so you might be able to have some more in-depth control in regards to the data and the information with the JSON file with the paid version of that. But we can do create new one. So this is the cool thing about this is the power behind the plugins where you can have some random data. You can change up, number of points that you want to have. You can change the max value. So this gives you some really cool kind of in-depth ability to just quickly change some information, number of lines. So you want 4, you create chart, and there you go. So this is a really nice one. If you really want to just quickly have an ability to go through, add align charts. Like I said, I know the paid version of this, you do have a lot more flexibility within this. So that's where some of this power of this plugin that happens with pulling on, like we said, those REST APIs if you wanted to, or JSON, or everything around that. But you can have some more customizability. The one thing that I will say that I did notice, and this is just maybe me as kind of my OCD kicking in, is having all these different plots here. Like it just, nothing's componentized. It's all just kind of like going through and kind of figuring out what is there. Can sometimes be a little bit of annoying, especially when it comes to trying to manage this from a design system as a whole, right? Like how do I, you have to still go in here and create all these as components and go through this and try to have this as a better component-based library so you can, be flexible going forward with it for other stuff. So that is a quick overview of the chart plugin. The next one here is the Data Visor. So this one, same thing, kind of build out a frame. I can just start from scratch again for you. Here we go, just build out a frame here. Then you can go in and right click on the plugin. Now this one, if I'm not mistaken, this one is kind of cool. So the same thing, you can actually upload, you can feed them your CSV or JSON file, or you can use random data. This here, it seems like you'd be able to actually select the chart width and kind of have some set settings here as far as config settings. Line width, which is pretty cool, a good idea, like bars and scatter. So it's limited to only these 3 type of charts. But again, it's a great jump off point for people who are just trying to really understand, hey, how do I put some information there just to represent something? So you can create, and it creates this. So really what it's doing is just creating these 2 vector points, and then it's just randomly drawing the lines out here as an example. But as you see, it's sometimes can be useful, sometimes can be somewhat useful, sometimes not. Doesn't seem like it's a huge thing that it wouldn't take long as a designer to really kind of build these things out and just do random lines here. We'll do another one too. We'll add another. Let's see here, add another graphic, another chart here for it with it, and we'll use the bars here. So the nice thing over here is you can do, this is a cool thing here for that, is you can use, because it's New York City weather as an example here, like this gives you a great idea as far as like some data points that they can use. So you can use temperature max, temperature high, low, and we can create that here. This is an example. So as you see here, again, it gets back to like they're just creating multiple just rectangles over and over again and plotting that. So, but again, as we talk about scalability with something like this, that's something that you'd still have to go through all this piece. Again, my OCD naming the correct bars, things like that is just personally for me going through and having that group. But the same thing with all the colors here. There's over 124 colors. So I mean, it's great to, if you want to quickly just generate something. But it looks like for this one, like we were mentioning from the other one, some of the ones is that you can actually select. You can go in here and select piece by piece. You're based on this, based on your color, but to generate 124 styles is kind of crazy to think through that a little bit. So again, taking time in a way to now have to go in here every single piece, where plugins are really supposed to kind of save you that time and be able to just quickly pump out things. It's almost creating more work, or almost the same amount of work, as you'll start to see as we go into the showing how we build them here currently, or build them for yourself. It just starts to kind of stack up, and it really is kind of a time suck instead of a time save for me, at least looking at this one here. So the charts plugin, this is the 3rd plugin we'll kind of go over here. And same thing, grab a frame, right click it, build a plugin, let's see here, charts. So this one's actually a little bit cool. So the only downside about this one is that you cannot upload any information to it. Like you can't upload a JSON file, you can't upload any of that type of information. But this one actually, to me, as I think a really great starter for a free version of a plugin, right? That gives you multiple versions, right? So it already gives you more than what Datavisor gave you. And even from a free side of it, a lot more freedom from the chart plugin. Also, the cool thing with this is it gives you really cool preview that you can actually go ahead and you can start changing these things. You can start seeing things start to change. You can use local styles. That's really cool. Number of series, you know what I mean? There's a lot of cool customizability within this one that I think personally, this gives you a great head start. If you have to quickly visualize some data or you want to put some kind of graph together quickly. But I think it's a really nice tool that they have this preview. I think this is a really big win from the side, at least, of the design and having a visual aspect of being able to see what you're building compared to the other ones where you're just like kind of going in blind and you're just selecting something and it just builds it. So this is a really nice way to have some type of thing that's a preview that you can say, oh, this is not really what I want, or hey, let's add something different. Like how does that shape kind of work out? Play around with the data points. Go that you can hide the grid, hide the dots. Again, some really cool things from a free plugin standpoint. I think this is a great tool. So we'll just plop this in here. So as you see with this one, you know, same thing. You're going to still deal with as far as responsiveness. You can still have it, you know, use this frame here, go here. Let's see here. So you can actually, so as you see with this one, actually you have a little bit of the ability to do that because now what you're doing is you have its own frame that it kind of created. That. So this is again just hitting Command, and I'm dragging out this here to show you that it can kind of control how that looks throughout there. So, right, and then here.
Alex,
So,
there's a question in the chat. You're currently using the charts plugin, right? Charts,
yes. So there's the third one, charts, CHRTS. So charts, thank you. Yep. So there's 3 different ones. I know it's kind of confusing, the chart and charts, but yeah, currently it's the charts one that I'm using. Yeah, so this is, you know, this is a really cool, I think, to me, I think one of the better plugins that I've seen, especially for the free side of it. And the other part of this too is like you're going to be able to go in here, and if I'm not sure if any of you use the, let's see here, any of you use the Google Sheets plugin, you know, this allows you to have a great opportunity to actually utilize that as well with this. So you can still pull in that that data side of it, which I can show you let's see here, I could show you that too. I was having a little trouble with it earlier this evening trying to get that to work, but the Google Sheets plugin, but let me grab that real quick here. Let me grab a file real quick. 1 second here. Just grabbing a Google Sheets file. Show the example here if it works for me correctly. 1 second, sorry about that. Should have had that ready. So here we go. Let me grab this link here. So basically what I'm doing here, just so you guys have an idea, there's a plugin also, it's called Google Sheets plugin, where you can actually create a Google Sheet. So it's like an Excel spreadsheet, or if somebody has a Google Sheet, you can actually grab the values from there and implement them into and convert them into here on the data itself by doing that. But this would have to be all componentized out to have a main component and work through itself. So I'll probably skip that. But anyways, I can send you another video, or you can share a link to a walkthrough video for that Google Sheets plugin. But that's a great kind of another plugin to tie in with something like this. So if you want to have it where you have some data points that are in a spreadsheet that you want to utilize, but the other ones, you know, the example, other ones, the JSON, you can upload that stuff here. But this is a great way to have this kind of cool tool, this free plugin that gives you some more flexibility compared to the other plugins. But then you can also then tie this in with the Google Sheets plugin for here. That would be another great thing. So overall, like looking at these 3, I think it's a huge, charts is a huge win in regards to the free approach to it. And I think it's a great starting jump off point on the plugin side, like I said, compared to the other versions. Now, if you want to spend $20, you know, you can do that and use the chart plugin. That might give you some more flexibility there. But if I look at the 2, like I said, you can have most of the same type of graphs within this free version, and then just tie in your Google Sheets plugin that's again free to kind of plug into here. So those are the three plugins that we kind of want to go over briefly. Andrew or Jacob, is there any more questions on these plugins before we kind of hop over to like what we do a little bit of headway in kind of building our own and show you how to build a little bit more flexibility with these?
There was one question about JSON that I answered, but do you want to talk a little bit about JSON and Google Sheets and how those work with data?
Yeah, so let me just do that. Then I can grab that link real quick here. So for here as an example, let me just what you can do is, so for JSON, what you can do for Google Sheets, I'll start with Google Sheets because it's probably easier. Actually, you know what? Let me go to JSON and give an example here with this one I can quickly upload for you. So let me do that real quick. 1 second here. All right.
So while Alex is doing that, essentially it just is a way for you to store data. So think of JSON as a like text-based file that represents something like a Google Sheet, or like comma separated values. It's a way to store data in a specific format, and then you can import that into here to then drive your visualizations instead of you updating them or making them up. They can reflect real data for you.
So I can just share this real quick. Now I can share example 2, what it looks like. It's, let's see here. So yeah, so it's just basically a way to kind of quickly see, as you see, like there's data value points and then there's the results. So like you can have, where's the data time, right? That's the identifier where they will pull that information. So every time you have on a graph, you can highlight, hey, this axis or this point is this value, and then what it'll do is generate numbers. It can either generate numbers randomly, or you can have a set of data that, as you see here, following this like 9/4, like September 4th, 2020, right? So then it'll just basically port over all of that data into each of those component pieces that are labeled at what you want it to be labeled as. It'll just quickly generate that data. So yeah, so that's, I appreciate Andrew the overview, but I just want to kind of show them like real quick what possibly the structure kind of looks like with that, how that kind of comes in that way too. So as a data file. Let's see, let me switch back to Figma here for you. Okay, cool. All right, so then let me continue on with inside now. Our stuff.
Looks like
so, go ahead.
We have a couple hands raised. I don't know if they have specific questions. I'm seeing some hands raised. Hold on a second here. Heather, did you have a question that you want to ask? Maybe not. All right, we can try. Oh, maybe she's muted. It's not letting me unmute her.
Was there like a GIF or meme? I see that the word of 2020 is
you're
on mute. You're on mute. Or can you see my screen? The world of remote work.
Let's see here. We'll try.
This is we don't have access to the video, or mic.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Google
so
Sheet syncs,
if anyone
Right.
has their hand raised, we can definitely let you ask the question live versus in tech, like the chat. So I just see another person with their hand up. I just didn't want to miss it in case they had an important question. So
yeah,
there's one other person. Let's see, Ushma. I'll let you ask the question if you'd like to. Hello. Nothing. All right, we can move on, I think.
There was one question.
Go ahead, Andrew.
One question here from Maya. For the Google Sheets plugin, do you mean Google Sheet Sync? And then where's the Q&A section that I can drop a question in?
Yeah, so it was the Google Sheet Sync. That is correct. That's the plugin. There's a couple plugins. There's Figma Sheets, Google Sync, Sheet Sync, and then there's one other one. But the Google Sheet Sync is the one that's actually, I think, been around for a while. And I know a couple of us here use that for design stuff. So we use that Google Sheet Sync plugin. That works really pretty well. Like I said, for some reason this evening before this, I was trying to get it to work, and it was just acting up, but it wasn't connected. So sometimes that happens. But yeah, so that's the one that we do use for that. Let's see here.
Yeah, one thing I wanted to just speak to on the data side is, we do a lot of enterprise software where people are either trying to present to a new company or a client. And so a lot of times we'll use Google Sheets and JSON files to replicate their data. So if they're an existing client and they're trying to sell them on a new capability that we prototyped, you can use their real data to then present to them. So like their logo, all the data from the past month, whatever's in their report, so that it just feels real to them. It kind of brings that effect, more to them. So it's not real, it's not made up data. It doesn't say Dwight Schrute, or, it doesn't have a bunch of unsplash images or UI faces or anything like that, but it's, the real data for that customer. And so super helpful if you're trying to pitch or sell, using prototypes in Figma.
Yeah, and the other cool thing too with the Google Sheets sync is you see if anybody goes and looks at it, is you can actually also import like images and select images to randomize images. So if you have a set of images that are sent to you, like, hey, somebody's trying to build a competing Airbnb app or something, right? Like they have actual pictures of their client, their houses that are on their site or their rentals. That's a way to make it feel more realistic when you're presenting and prototyping out. It has that real information in there. So again, just to back what Andrew said, it's a really great tool. So that we use. So now I will move on to our stuff here that we kind of created here for ourselves. So what we'll do is kind of walk through a couple things that we do, and as far as building some stuff out with data visualization and how we build this out and how to make something that can be used across the board, and you can have flexibility for this, and it's component based graph and visual kind of understanding, and then also show you some cool tips that actually I just learned personally last week myself from watching Figma office hours, and it's kind of a little hack with auto layout and being able to adjust the graph, which is a pretty cool trick that we can kind of go through. But what we typically do is, this is an example, is what we're trying to do is build out a bar graph that has the ability for us as a designer to go in, select different variant heights within like the bar graph to represent data information coming through like an x-axis, right? And the one kind of downside a little bit with Figma, I'm not sure if this is everywhere. I haven't used XD exclusively yet or anything like that, but when you go to an instance, so like you have a component and then you go to an instance, there's no way for you to easily, if you click into the instance, to adjust the heights of this as you start to build through this. Like you have to go in and let's see here. As you can see, I can't really do anything as far as the height with that to adjust the height going up and down here on this. You can't really adjust the height of this bar graph here. So what we do is we actually build out different levels or different options within that. And so what we do is we build it being able to scale. As you can go through, everything's going to be scaled through this. And then we have a frame. So we have a basic, here's the actual bar value itself. So we can change this depending on what we want it to be. So as far as that, and then we just go through and have multiple options. So it's like we put in like percentages, like, hey, this is 25%, 10% of like the total space, 95. And then we just kind of go with a percentage just so we can say, instead of a specific number, like, oh, it's 30, right? Or it's 60, like, to match across with the x-axis value, saying it's just the percentage filled that we're looking to the top for that. So we build that out first and just have different levels, right, throughout this process here. And this is currently how we've done it in the past with this, and kind of going through, and then we set these to left top, and then we set these to scale. So as you get down here, then we go through, and the second step of that is copying that component, placing it inside another frame, and then having it where we can have, if it's, we need to have one graph, think of this as like a column, right? Within going through, you're building this visualization kit out as you have like, hey, I'm going to need a bar graph that has 6 different, y-axis points across the bottom. So it's 6 different columns. And do I want it to be, do I only have to have one single bar or that, or is there multiple, right, across the bar? And this can also even be used for stacked, like you can stack multiple things on here depending on what we select here. And just thinking through like what kind of data, again, we're trying to tell a story with that, and how do we build that. So, but again, still making it so it's, responsive. And that's a big thing too, is going through and building these. Is it responsive, and how can we make that work? So as you start to build through these pieces, and you can add, 2, 3, 4 separate, you can start to see now we start to build this bigger, right? So following that kind of a methodology like Adams molecules, and it's not built out this way, but just to kind of give you the idea of like how we start to build the structure of this. And so that way, then like when you get to this level, you can see as it starts to be responsive within the frame, you can now go in here, and if you see we have 1, do we want 3, do we want 2, right? And then you can even go in here and then go specific and say, hey, this one, instead of 95, I want it to be 25. Instead of here, we want this to be, you go here, let me go here, and you want it to be this value to be not 95, you want it to be 10, right? And so you get the point that you can go through this. And the nice thing about this is then again, because you can't control the instance, the height of the instance typically. And so like I said, last week I learned something, but you can see as we can start to build this out across the way and build these pieces out, and you can start to really kind of lay out this way of having some kind of visual graphical appearance of like an actual graph. And again, it's all componentized out. So if one change is made here, it's again cascaded throughout this. And then the same thing, you can add the x-axis to match, and you can again have these things kind of be, or excuse me, the y-axis, and have this match across the board with responsiveness across the board through that. So as you start to build these pieces out, you can kind of start to see how we put these together in an overall frame, and I can do that too here for you. But before I do that, I wanted to show something that I learned, like I said, last week, and it was from watching the office hours. I think it was called Building Complex Components. So this is a really cool tip that was actually brought by Rogi, who is a Figma advocate, as well as I think it's Joey Banks is the other gentleman there with the two guys. We're kind of going through some tips and tricks to go through, but this is again another way to build out some type of visual bar graph, but it's a little bit of a hacky way to do it, but it's kind of cool how you can use auto layout with that. So with this, there is a component bar graph right here that's used, that's a rectangle. So we have the background here. So this is the background, and you can set the fill to 100 just so you can see there's a background here. But I just usually put it as transparent too, so you can see that. And then there is an auto layout where there's a actual rectangle with inside the bar graph. And what this allows you to do now is if you start to go through now, so we'll just show you as an example here. So you can have the main component, you can copy it. So now it's an instance. So again, as before in the instance, you couldn't have the ability to adjust the height of this. But what you can do now is you can actually go into and start to use auto layout padding, right? And so now you have the ability to actually go in and actually adjust it, right? So you have the ability now not to have to build all these pieces throughout that. And you can now use this as a way to, in an instance, be able to adjust that. So that's one cool tip. And then as you start to go through this and you, again, go through and build these things, you can start to build it and make it so it's, showing out as far as that. It still works a little bit. There's some tweaks that have to be made, which I haven't had a time to perfect with this yet. But as you can see, though, this gives you a way to really kind of come up here without having to have all these other pieces. You can quickly go in and adjust, hey, I need this to be this, you can do that. A really kind of cool trick that, like I said, so it saves a little bit on building this whole structure out. If you want to have that, you can same thing. You can do the auto layout and have multiple bars within here and adjust individual bars and going through that too. So this is kind of a really cool way to kind of think through, building a way to build another kind of visualization that allows you to have less maybe maintenance as far as building all these levels, and also use some of the auto layout capabilities within Figma that they have going. So it's another one I wanted to share and kind of go over and really kind of talk through this piece here through that. So I think that was really cool. And how would we link that to data? So yeah, so this right here. So the downside about this is that with, at least on the bar graph itself, you can't really link that to data right now. At least I haven't learned how to do that personally yet. But the data pieces you can be like around here. So if you look somewhat within these pieces here, can you post the office hours video? Yep. There will be a link in here as well. I'll show the link as far as building that out too. There's also another kind of hack way to do it, actually using invisible text, that you can actually just type starting text, and it actually will grow the bar as well. But it's just not, you're not seeing the text, but it's just growing the height of that. So that's another way that they're doing it. But In regards to the data part, so like things about the x-axis, the y-axis, things that you want to put the actual data to, that's where the Google Sheets plugin would come into play. If you see here how like the hashtag dollar value and date. So these are things that would, let's see if it's still available here. Let's see if it's still here. So it does have the link here. And this is something that, so if you can see, you can start to set the pieces, and it's supposed to be fetch and sync for this. And let's see here. 1 second here. So typically what it's supposed to do is generate then from the data Google data sheet, update the data information. Like I said, for some reason it wasn't working. I tried to get it to work right before this, but I won't be there. But yes, so this is another way, again, 2 ways that you can actually build a graph and think through, like, okay, think through bar graphs, think through scatter plots. You know, you can, again, imagination can run wild now with once you start building these core pieces out, and then being able to just go through if you want to switch it this way as far as just selecting an option within this. You know, that's a great way to do that. That's another way we currently build a lot of stuff. Like I said, last week was something we learned here, and that's something that I want to start to play around with as we start to build out, you know, here at Headway, our data visualization UI kit that we're going to release. So I really want to see how we can harness the power of this auto layout, because I think that's something really cool and special for that. So those are some kind of quick overviews of like different ways to build different levels of graphs with inside here. The other thing I wanted to kind of go over and share is share some of these, you know, again, same thing with the ability to build your own and create your own. You have the way to kind of like just visualize something compared to being stuck to what is pushed out with the plugins or things along that line. You're kind of stuck with what the graphs they give you. But as you can see here, like you can start to think through and like, how do we build some cool different visualization pieces that maybe not living within the plugin. So this is an example. We built this graph for something is, instead of having like your typical pie chart where there's like the 3 diamonds, right? This was something that was like somebody was responding to something and just kind of having some more modern way to have like a breakdown of like the responses based on the numbers versus a total. So again, as you start to build your own pieces out, you can start to see things that can come together and you can build your own. Like this one right here, here's another great example of like the responsiveness that we built for like a line graph. Again, still using that same methodology as far as going through pieces and building these layers out as far as selecting the options here. And then same thing with the heat map, you know, different heat maps, things along that line. So these are some of the things that other pieces that other designers also built here at Headway. But again, you know, using a plugin, you're kind of restricted to what it is, but like building your own, like you have a way to really control it, componentize it, have one central location to manage all of this, instead of having to be where at the end of it, like if you have this plugin, you're left with all of these, you know, different random dots and shapes, and it's, you know, can be very difficult to manage, especially as you start to scale something out and you start to build this, you know, robust kind of visualization kit or UI for a customer or for yourself or for your company. It's just a better way to manage all this information, manage all these options through something like this and building your own visualization kit through that. So again, it was the kind of just a quick overview as far as like how we think through building it and thinking through how do we kind of create flexibility with this, and also how do we manage something within a visualization kit that can help, you know, kind of lead going forward and help keep it scalable and go from there. So we'll kind of go after that. So again, some final thoughts. First, there's 3 big tips here. So obviously the Figma tips, I said we have a Headway YouTube channel that will, again, this video will be shared on it. Other great things as far as especially coming around like design system management and kind of building that out. That's something great another designer here at Headway talked about. And you can kind of utilize those tips and think about through how that can apply to some visualizations. Another big thought is, you know, working with developers, right? Like we can create some crazy cool graphs and visualizations that tell a great story, but if a developer can't build it, it's not useful, right? So some of the big steps too is like finding out like, hey, what type of visualization library are they building off of? Are they using something like D3 or there's other Nuvo charts? So there's a bunch of different like visualization kits that are out there, or things that, you know, developers will kind of run with a little bit to give them a starting point. So find out from them and really work closely with them as you start to build these graphs out and the visualizations out, and start to talk to them like why you want to use this, how it kind of explains your story you're trying to tell with the data, and just make sure it's possible, right? because you don't want to build this huge UI kit, and at the end of the day, they come back to you and say, "Yep, we can't do this," and so you got to start from scratch. Last piece, before we really kind of open up for Q&A, is, like I said, going through the plugins, some pros and cons. We did charts with an S, I think, to me, is a great jump off point for early designers who don't have a lot of time to build out a UI kit or visualization kit, and they just really kind of need to put some numbers together and throw some information in there. Again, I apologize about the Google Sheet thing not working. I really wanted to show that today. For some reason, it just wasn't working. That's another great add-on plugin that's free that you can utilize the information that you guys have for that. If you want to spend the $20, you can spend the $20 on Chart. I don't know if it does that much more for you. Again, it adds a little bit with connecting data to it. And then the data visualizer that I saw, like you kind of saw through, right? It had a way to quickly put something together, put something on for UI, but didn't have a lot of great flexibility with that. Now, again, looking at, if you have some more time, it does take a little time to get through that and kind of build out the visualization kit, but the power of customization and building it on your own is something that's, to me, invaluable, especially when it comes to telling stories with data. So that's, kind of some final thoughts on my end and building that through. I know we wanted to open it up for questions, and I know there's been some questions coming through, so I'm not sure if Andrew or Jacob, there's stuff I didn't see when I was talking through things that we wanted to ask, or again, here's an opportunity to I could kind of walk through some stuff or build some other visualizations. If you have questions about it, I can try to work through this as well for you guys here.
Yeah, there's one question from anonymous attendee. Thank you, anonymous attendee. Hi, when trying to reduce or expand just the frame size, somehow the entire layout gets stretched and shrunk to fit. I just wanted to add blank canvas. Help. Anonymous attendee, would you like to reveal yourself and share your screen, and maybe we could chat through it? Perfect. What's your name? Anonymous attendee,
if you raise your hand,
you share.
Yeah, if you raise your hand, if you go to participants and then raise your hand, we can. There we go.
Well,
I can stop sharing. I think they have to be able to share. Hold on a second.
Yeah, and there's another one here from Nathan. Do you have any Figma and or Sketch UI kits that you'd recommend that don't rely on plugins? Would love to see how to do those donut graphs that one can easily adjust.
Hello.
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 Hi. I have that questions.
Sure.
Yeah. Do you want to share your Figma?
Yes. How do I do that? Because I'm working on this project for my company, and I'm trying to, expand the canvas, just the canvas, not the layout within there. But somehow it's just expanded. Do you want to look at it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how do you? Okay, share screen.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay, can you see it?
Yeah.
Yes, we can.
Okay. So what I'm trying to do is, so when I click on this, and then I'm trying to expand it, see how this whole layout gets expanded?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So how do I fix that?
So what you're looking at is the pieces that are expanding. You want to make sure that it's selected at the top. So if you select look at the one of the items that are scaling. If you want to, it starts to scale down for you. If you select let's see here, go ahead and get into the piece itself. So keep going going into the layers. Can you go into the frame on the left-hand side panel there? There's the frame.
This one, right?
Yep, expand it.
Okay.
And then go to each of these kind of sections, right? So hit that section right there. So you see how right now it's a scale. So what you want to do is you want to move it and to make it, at least for the top bottom, you want to set it to top instead of scale. So if you select on the right-hand side, yep, that's left, right, and then it's left, right. And then if you're worried about it expanding to the top, so you want to pin it to the top, and then you can pin it to the left.
I don't want to expand it. So
yeah, so you can go. So top, yep. So it doesn't expand when it goes north to south,
Oh, really?
up and down. Yep. And you just basically it's the pinning the position of it so it doesn't expand. So if you go to the next piece, let's see here, go to the next one. Same thing. Just set all of them to the top at least right now to at least help with that vertical when you start to drag it down.
Like that?
So that has mixed. So if you go to the top, you just select there just for right now, just to see how that works for you.
Yeah, the other version of that too, if you're just trying to increase the frame, is just selecting the frame up top and then hitting Command, and then it should ignore the scaling rules.
Yeah, that's the other part too. That's
Okay,
what we're
and
trying
then
to.
I just expanded.
I hit the main top frame, yep, the top frame, and then if you can, there's two options. You can either drag it now,
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God.
or if you don't want to even do that, like what Andrew said, if you go back and you hold Command. Now, if you go to the select it again, select the frame, and now hit Command, hold Command or Command or Alt right on the PC.
Okay,
Just try to remember the key right there, and then so hit Command. So if you want to do the horizontal side of it, right, hold Command. And then now just hold the Command and then drag it now. So same thing by holding Command or setting the pin location that you can do that.
Oh, I can do that.
Yep.
Instead of
So
you
either
mean
one.
putting the all locked in into the top section?
Yep, you can do just hold Command.
Okay,
If
so
you hold
this
Command,
one I didn't do it, so I just need to push Command and then, oh yeah.
There you go.
And then
Great, thank you.
The other shortcut is if you hit K, it'll scale it for you. So if you hit the frame and let's say you want to scale something like an image or a logo or an icon that's fixed, if you just hit K and then expand it, it should scale.
Oh, you mean expand the whole entire layout?
Yeah, if you want to. Usually use that with like icons that have certain scaling things if you want them to scale proportionately together.
Okay, that's very helpful.
Yeah.
That's all.
Cool.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, you're welcome.
To answer the one question as far as the Sketch UI kits, if you go, I'm not sure if you have access to the community yet. In the community, there are some other charts you can use, infograph UI charts that are there available. Like I said, we at Headway will be pushing one out soon to get that out there as well. So that you can be on the lookout for that. But there are some things within the community. I'm not sure if you guys have access to the Figma community yet. I know they're kind of rolling it out. Not everybody at once, but it's like different people get that. That's a great place that'll have some free resources that don't rely always on a plugin for that.
Yeah, there's one more question here from Nathan that maybe you could display quick, is how to do the donut graphs that you can adjust. So like the radial graphs that you can adjust using.
Yeah. So we can go through that. Yep. So let me share my screen real quick here. So yeah, so something like around this line right here, right? He was talking about like the radio stuff right around this kind of thing.
Yep.
Something like this. So yeah, so I can build one out real quick for you, just show how it works. So what you do is you can just create a circle, right? And then you see as over here as this arc. So you can actually do that, and then you can drag that, and then this is where this starts to kind of come in. You can now drag that as a piece, and then that starts to, as you see, you can start to do that, and then you can scale it as well. So as you can see, it starts to scale itself here, but you can put, like, if you wanted to put multiple ones inside of it, you can do another one here. Same thing, scale it down. It still matches. Even increase the width here for it, just so we can try to match somewhat of the same here. Yeah, so as you start to build this out here, right, you can just put it into frame selection. Yeah, so then you can start to see, as you start to see, it starts to scale together, right? And you can even put one on top of each other here and put a color in it. So it's basically selecting an ellipsis, and then with inside here, there's controls. Once you grab that, you can start to see the controls there and go through that. And you can actually, again, same thing, control, let's go there, So as you see, you can start to kind of go through that direction and just build these out that way and use the within that so we can build something like very similar to this within the labels inside here and keeping that here, which is center. So we can even do something where put it some text here. What's inside the frame here? As an example, center. Just an example here.
Was that
go ahead.
helpful, Nathan? Or is there anything more that you'd like to see on?
Yeah.
Perfect. And then there's one more here from Ben Wong. Could you walk through how the hack bar graph again worked, how it was created with the nested rectangle inside auto layout?
Yep, I can walk through that real quick here. So 1 second here. So we'll just start from scratch. So what we did is I started by, let's see here, go through it again because I just did it. So I start by a frame here, create a frame. So this is kind of like the container that's going to live within. And then I went and created a rectangle. Let me just double check this. I literally just did this like today. So I just learned it today as a hack because I watched the video recently. So I might have to take me a second to walk through it a second time, but yeah. So then I create another frame, right, a rectangle, and then you create another frame. So you put that within a frame. Yep, so the frame within that with that. So then this is where this can go. Let's see here. Right, top, bottom. Left, right, top, bottom. Then you have this here. Just go here. And then you put the auto layout here. Vertical that. This is the do it. See if I can pause it. Let me just remember how to do that. How to do that. Bar graph, rectangle, background. So that's what it is. I got the background still there. Okay, cool. Just remember to walk through it. So then there's one more rectangle. Right. Just walking through it. Sorry. Actually, this was rectangle. Bar graph. That's there. Oh, a second. Go. Let's rectangle. Left, right, top, bottom. That's there. Rectangle 4. Okay. So that's what it is. This is this one here. Oh, hold on a second. It should be rectangle inside that. So that's where that's coming from. Okay. So as you see, I'm just trying to remember it myself. So you have the rectangle there. Paragraph there. Okay. Sorry, just remember how I did this. See? So all right, so let's go here. So we got to put the rectangle inside of. There we go. That's what we do. There we go. That's what it was. Okay. Here. You should be able to. Yep, that's that way. Okay, so that's how I built it that way. Yep, so that's what I did is originally it was flipped. So this is going to be left, bottom. It's going to be. This is right. There we go. It should then, no, it goes that way. So it's got to be, oh, that's what it is. Horizontal. There we go. That's what the tip was. No, that's not doing it. So, oh, hold on a second. 1 second here. Just trying to walk through, remember everything. So that's there. So then this should be it here. No, let's doing that. Let's do that. All right. Let's see. How did I do that again? Sorry, this is part of walking through it. So like I said, I literally just did this 2 hours before this because I learned it. So this is okay. So that's coming from that. So I had okay. So that's what I did. Paragraph. Paragraph and frame. Yes. Horizontal. There we go. No, it wasn't it. This other piece. One more frame. Side here. No, it's just fitting that in. Okay. There we go. I think that's what. Top bottom. That's right, top bottom. That's that. That's that. Okay. Should go there. Let's do that. 1 second here. No, okay, so 5N. There we go. Flip it. This should now. Oh. It's going that way. So 1 second, sorry about that. Just walking through it myself again. So this should now do it. No, it's still
Alicia's
not at the bottom.
reveling in your pain.
Yeah, see, yeah, but hey, no, there we go. There we go. Okay. I remember it. Sorry about that, guys. Like I said, I just did it for the first time an hour before this meeting because I just learned it. So what you do is, do I need that frame? Nope, don't even need that frame. All right. So what you do is you have an outer frame that is left, right, bottom. So it's pinned to the bottom. And then you put a rectangle with inside this, and this is what's controlling the, let's see here. This is what's controlling the auto layout and controlling that ability to go up or down with it. And then you have this within the frame, and this is where then you can select the auto layout and select the vertical and the auto width, and then you can scale it like so. There you go. Got it. So again, sometimes you got to work around because you hacked it together and it was a hacky tip, but you learned it, and we're back on it. So that's how we kind of built it out. Again, there's another cool tip that's around text and invisible text, which I didn't have a chance to play around as much as I wanted to before this. Otherwise, I would have showed that as well. That's it. But as you know, people are living my pain with me right here. So questions about that? Or any questions else? Any other questions?
I don't think so.
Okay. Well, like I mentioned before, I appreciate everybody, taking the time to kind of scale back and change the time for this. I was able to come back and be good to go. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn or something if you have a question, or even Headway. Sure, we can ask questions, or we can follow up with an email. Like I did mention before, keep an eye out for Figma, or excuse me, for Headway's data visualization UI kit that we're going to be building, as well as our Shipwright, our design system UI kit. That's kind of great starting point. That'll kind of be shipping the data viz will live with inside that as well. And yeah, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out, and I'm more than willing to respond. And if you can't think of something, I'm always, you can reach out to us somehow. And if we want to hop on some way to kind of hack through something and try to figure it out. If you have a question like how do I build something, I would be more than willing to come back and try to build it for you and share how I walk through how I did that for it, visualization. So again, I appreciate it. It's really, again, a really entry level kind of way into thinking through visualization and building that. And also, again, I'll have a blog that will follow this to probably take a little bit more in-depth steps with building it and how to manage it. So again, appreciate everything and look forward to some more talks in the future with you guys, with everybody.
Awesome. Thank you, Alex. It looks like we have one more question quick.
Yeah.
Asking about export options for the JSON file.
So in regards to like exporting from where you got the data, I'm trying to understand that because it's usually the JSON's like the exported field. So if it's like how that file is created, is that the question? Just so I can have a better understanding. Not sure. file. Let's go back up and see here. Options for JSON file. Okay, what are the export options for JSON? Okay, I see it here. JSON. Export options. I'm trying to think of what I can think of. I'm not sure, Andrew, if you have a better answer for that, like export options for JSON, like a JSON file.
Yeah, I'm not sure if you're talking about when you grab the data. Usually we'll work with someone on our dev team or the data team to export some data. In some cases, if you have a plugin that only takes JSON, it doesn't take Google Sheets, you can write your own. Just if you do a quick search for JSON structure, you can see how the data is kind of parented through that. I don't know if that's helpful.
Yeah, there's also like a thing called mock data JSON. It's mock something. If you just look up like mock data JSON, mock JSON data, like there's also a generator as well that can help generate that as well. If it's something like you just want to test that out too, just to see how the structure comes out and stuff like that. So I hope that helps. If not, if you have a follow-up, please feel free to reach out to us and be more than willing to try to see if we can give you a better answer for that as well.
Yeah, if you want to reach out to us, you can ping us ahoy@headway.io or Jacob@headway.io or Alex@headway.io. All of those work well. We also have a chat on our site. If you forget all of those email addresses, just hit us up and someone from our team will reach out and get in touch. Another follow-up question on JSON. Once you're done with JSON, what options do we see in export? Can we import it on other softwares? Do you mean importing the graphics that you're making or the charts? Sorry, I don't quite understand the context.
Maybe they can hop in just to ask the question live. Might be easier.
Yeah.
Create more context. Can you raise your hand and then we can invite you in?
Maybe not.
Oh, silence.
I'm just curious. Never mind.
Yeah, you go ahead and ask it. Go ahead.
No, I was just curious if Ben could come on and we could have a beard off with him and Jacob.
Oh, jeez.
Yes.
Maybe that's post-recording.
I did compliment Jacob on his beard today. I was like, it was an amazing beard. I'm jealous. I grow the scruff. That's about it. So
do you
that's
believe it's fake? Here. It's like one of those Santa beards, but just brown.
Yeah. This is what happens when you just give up.
Next time, he said. Next time.
I'm just kidding. That's not what happens.
Jacob, you can grow it out more and have a bigger beard. Well, yeah. Thank you, everybody.
All right. Well, I think that wraps it up. Yeah. Be sure to check out our next event coming up. I put a link in the chat there. We'll be talking about just UI kits in general, and we actually have a UI kit called Shipwright. So make sure you sign up for that event. We'll also have a link to that event in the email that'll go out this week to you that has this recording, past recordings, just all the resources that we might have talked about today will be linked in there. So don't worry, we'll get it to you via email. And then be sure to check out our YouTube channel, subscribe, check out the other content there. We also have content about design systems. We have content just about Figma, getting started with Figma in general. A walkthrough of 4 videos there, from creating your first designs to prototyping, talking and doing interviews and how to conduct them properly, and what to do next. We even have stuff for React, creating SG line charts, React testing, connecting React to databases, just all sorts of stuff where we have a lot more content on the way. So we get together every month right here. Right now we use Zoom. It might change over time, but right now we use Zoom and we broadcast to YouTube Live. So be sure to stay in touch. Like Andrew said, don't be afraid to reach out either on chat or just ahoy@headway.io. And we look forward to seeing you next time. So take care, everybody.
Have a good one. Stay safe.